What's up everybody, my name is Steven. Thank you for clicking on this video. This video we're going to show you how to do Sumifs, Averageifs, and Countifs in Excel. Now these are going to be expanded versions of the basic Excel functions sum, average, and count. The only difference here is going to be you can add criteria to your calculations. So we're going to go through both. We'll do just the basic versions first using some sales data here in this table I have. We're going to show you sum, average, and count, just the basic versions first. Then we'll show you the expanded versions and how you can use those. So sum, average, count is going to be simply, you want to sum column H, for example, sales figures. You can just sum a total column or, a piece of it, I suppose, if you want to do that. But that's only useful to a certain degree. At some point, you're going to want to pick out of this a little more specifically, like say, okay, I want to see now how much of column H is televisions, or how much of column H is home theaters, right? Desks, whatever else may be in here. You want to kind of take a subset of that data and pick it out and calculate only that. Well, that's what Sumif, Averageif, and Countif can do for you. Now I'm going to do all three. They actually are very, very similar, just different calculations, right? One is a sum, one's an average, and one is just simply a count of items. No real calculation in that. So again, we'll start very basic here first. We'll just do the sum, average, and count on this. We'll kind of show you just how this calculates out. As I go through it, you're going to see that we're going to take the detail using the if statements, and it's going to tie back to the totals, the basic functions. So let's first just we'll write these out, sum, count, and average. Now we'll just do these basic functions on this whole table. So the only real numeric value we have in this table is going to be column H. Column G, yes, is a unit price, but the idea here is it's going to be column F times column G equals column H. So really column H is our best way to go here. This is going to be just total sales figures, okay? So let's just write a very simple sum here and figure out what's our total of column H in this table. So we can do this a couple of ways. We can either do equals sum, select the whole column H, or we can do equals sum and just copy all the cells, or select all the cells, whichever one you want to do. I personally prefer to select the whole column because quite often the way that I use these functions, the Sumifs and that is that I might have an export out of a database somewhere that has the same ordered number of columns every single time, just that the data inside the table updates in real time or updates every day. So I can just write Sumifs on like a dashboard pointing to the columns and then dump the data into Excel every time and it updates every single time. I don't got to keep rewriting it every time. So I usually prefer to use the columns, and we will use that in this example, but just as a note, you don't have to use that for this. So now let's do a count of this. So you equals count. And so again, we're counting column H. Now for this one though, I would say you do want to select the cells because if you do the whole column, you're going to get the headers too. And we just want to know the actual data lines. How many of those are there? So we'll start here at H2, go all the way down. Stop here at H44, hit enter. So we've got 43 of them. So we've got 1,305,675.50 of total sales in column H, and of that there's 43 data lines in the table. Now we can take an average of these as well. So we'll do equals average. So here again you can either do the whole column or you can do the cells. Either one works. I'll just do the cells, I guess. We've been doing that all along. Let's do the cells. Hit enter. So now we know that. So this 1.3 million is our total sales number. There's 43 items, and really this is a simple math to say, take the total, divide by how many there are, that gives you your average, right? That's all this is. So now what we can do though is expand this using Sumifs, Countifs, and Averageifs. And what this now is going to say is, okay, of that 1.3 million, how much of it is, televisions or home theaters or whatever you input. So I'm not going to get into what they call the Sumifs. So there's actually another function that's called Sumifs, which lets you add multiple criteria. I'm just going to show the single criteria function in this video. I don't think it's really necessary to even go that far in this video, because really the only difference between doing a Sumif and a Sumifs is just going to add more criteria to it, is all it is. So we're going to stick to the single criteria function in this video. So let's just take items, for example, because there's only a handful of them. Let's look at the table and see. Yeah, there's only 5. Cell phones, desks, home theaters, televisions, video games. So I'm just going to write these out so you can see the total. But I would say, like, if you were actually trying to see, okay, so what are total sales by item? You want to see all 5. You wouldn't use a sum if you use like a pivot table. You want to see it all at once. That's going to be a quicker and easier way to get this information. But I think just for this example, we're kind of showing you how this works. I want to go step by step and show the whole total, so I can then tie out to this 1.3 million sum number at the top, so you can see that it's all working, right? We're going to basically build it from the detail, sum it up, and it's going to work in total. So let's just write these out now and kind of go through the formula. What was it? Cell phones, desks, home theater, television, and video games. Okay, let me finish writing this up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do sum of sales. So we'll just build a little simple sum function here to kind of total this up. So you'll see in the end, once we build these out, this number and this number will be equal. Okay. So now we're going to build a SUMIF here first. We'll do SUMIF, then COUNTIF, then Averageif later, sticking to the same flow here as above. So follow my cursor here. We're going to go to the formula bar at the top of Excel here, formula bar. So just to the left of the formula bar, there's a FX button. This is going to be the function wizard or the insert function button. Click on that. So mine's already shown here, but if you just type this in, you can just type in SUMIF here, search for a function, SUMIF, click go on the right. It's going to find it, make sure it's highlighted, click OK. And now you've got 3 arguments you got to fill out, right? So these are going to be, I'm going to talk about these in reverse because I think it's just important to kind of talk about the sum range first. So the sum range is going to be just basically our sales figures here. So essentially the numeric values you're going to sum. Okay, this is really no different than the sum here at the top. Sum range is just going to be the range of data you're going to be summing. Now we're going to layer in a criteria. This is going to be, so our criteria is going to be our items, right? So in this case, cell phone, that's going to be our criteria. Then the range is going to be, where's it going to look to find that criteria, which is going to be column E. So let's select column E here for the range. And for criteria now, since we've already written these all out, we're going to actually just do a cell reference here to that, so cell phone. So we've got our range is column E, criteria is K6 or cell phone, and then sum range is going to be column H. We'll lock this. Okay, so now we hit OK now, we should get a value. So it's already showing us we get 62,550. So hit OK, 62,550. Let's format this so it looks pretty. So 62,550. Now we can just simply drag this down and it'll fill all the rest in because we've already got this referencing, K6, column E and column H are going to be just static. Those aren't going to change, right? We're doing the whole column. So K6 is our only real dynamic piece of input in this formula. So we'll drag this down. So now we've got, so cell phones are 62,550 of sales. Desks are 1,250 of sales. Home theaters are 361,000 of sales. Televisions are 857,768 of sales. And video games finally are $23,107.50. I told you that when we get done with this, the sum of all these items will match this number, and it does, right? Our 1,305,675.50 is the same number as above. The difference is now we've broken this out by the detail, and we're saying, okay, of this 1.3 million, how much of it is cell phones? How much is desks, home theaters, etc.? So now if you look at this formula and the way that it works, so you go through this, I mentioned, column E and column H don't change, right? We're always picking those columns every single time. What changes is our cell reference, our K6 here. So we go through this, you see now K7 is desks, next one, K8, K9, K10, but all along E and H never change. And that's just the way that I use this. Like I said, I use this more for almost like automation. You all basically have an export out of a database somewhere that the columns never change. The grid itself never changes, just the information inside updates, and it's basically gets more added to it. So I can just keep dumping this into Excel every time, and these formulas are always picking the entire column. So every time it's pulling in the new information, I just dump more information into Excel. That's how I use this. So now we can do a count of all of these. So we're going to copy down our little table here. So again, we're going to use the same column, same criteria. Now we're going to do a count. It's actually not even a count of sales, this is a count of items. So again, we can sum this because we'll be building the count by item, and then we'll sum to a total. So again, when I'm done with this, count of items and the total count here will match. So this is going to be a little bit simpler than a SUMIF. There's no sum range because there's no numeric value. It's just a count. So this is going to essentially just be kind of the first piece of this, column E, and then criteria is going to be each of these items. So again, let's do the function wizard on this. So follow my cursor, formula bar to the left. So this insert function button here in green, click on that. So there again, you can type this in if it's not coming up, and more than likely won't if you never use this. So type in Countif, click go, highlights it here at the bottom, click OK. So we got 2 arguments. So our range again is going to be column E. Criteria is going to be cell phone, which is now K13 because we copied our stuff down. So now you see it's giving us a value here of 5 on this. So click OK. Again, copy this down through all your items. So there again, our 43 matches what's up top, right? Now we know of that 43 cell phones, there's 5 cell phones in here in this whole table, 3 desks, 15 home theaters, 13 televisions, 7 video games. So now we'll do average ifs the same exact way, and this is actually going to be basically identical to the SumIfs formula. Actually, it is going to be identical to the SumIfs formula. The only difference is going to be that the calculation is going to be an average, not a sum. But it's going to be, again, criteria is going to be in column E, and our average range is going to be in column H. So let's drag this down. I'm going to show this one a little bit different mathematically, though, however, because since this one here was a average of the entire table, not the items, and this is going to be basically going from the item level up, we can't calculate it out the same way. But I'll show you how this works though in the end and kind of do a circular test so you can see that this is all working. So again, follow my cursor. Formula bar here in Excel at the top. Function wizard here on the left. So the FX button in green, click on that. Again, if you need to type it in, go ahead. So average if, click go. Highlights here at the bottom, click OK. Now again, I mentioned this is going to be the identical formula to the SumIfs. So average range is column H, our sales. Criteria is going to be our cell phone, which is now K20. And then the range is going to be column E. Same exact formula. The only difference is now it's just going to be, averaging instead of summing the sales. So click OK now. So let's format this. Gotta make it look pretty, everybody. So 12, 5, 10 for cell phones, drag it down. Desks are 4, 16, 67. Home theaters are 24,067. Television 65,982, and then video games 3,300. So again, I mentioned the math is a bit different how you kind of get back to this. Essentially, these are going to be our SumIfs by item here divided by how many there are, our Countifs. That's how you get the average if number. So we can do that math where we kind of just do a validation, kind of a reasonableness check here. So 62,550 divided by 5, and these are already in order, so we're good to drag this down. Ugh. So all the numbers are the same, right? 2 ways to get into the same answer, but since we've already calculated these out with average or sum and count, we can get the average, derive the average from that without doing even this formula. That's how it works, everybody. Again, there is another function you can go to. I'll just kind of pull it up and show you. There's going to be SumIfs with an S at the end. So all this is going to be is just, you can keep adding criteria. So like if I go sum range, criteria range, let's say, E, let's say television. So now it's asking for a number 2, right? Okay, let's do sales rep. You type in Shelly, and now you can go down to 3. It just keeps adding and adding and adding. So that's the only difference here, though, between a SumIf and a SumIf is just going to be you can do multiple criteria with the SumIfs. So I'm not going to show that in this video. I think this shows enough. Just doing the single criteria. It's a good introductory look at this. A good way to learn this. So hopefully that was helpful. If you got this far, thank you very much. I appreciate you, and hopefully I'll catch you back on the next one. Thank you very much.